Well, this is a great example where we can look at our records. The National Review Online, which is a conservative publication, said based on results, not just based on words, I was probably the most pro-life candidate in this race. As governor of the state of Minnesota, I appointed to the Supreme Court a conservative court for the first time in the modern history of my state. We passed the most pro-life legislation any time in the modern history of the state, which I proposed and signed, including women's right to know, including positive alternatives to abortion legislation, and many others. I'm solidly pro-life.
An emergency has been declared for this area. For emergency details, please tune to Channel 2.
All right, Governor, thank you for that. Let's go back up to Plymouth, New Hampshire. Tom Fahey's standing by with a voter and a question.
The proceeding was brought to you as a community service of this cable company.
She lives in Franconia, and she is a naturalized citizen who moved to New Hampshire several years ago from Minnesota, of all places. And she's got a question about immigration.
As a naturalized American citizen who came here legally, I would like to know how you, as a president, plan to prevent illegal immigrants from using our health care, educational, or welfare systems.
Senator Santorum, why don't you lead off on that one?
Well, I'm the son of a legal immigrant in this country and believe in legal immigration. That is a great wellspring of strength for our country. But we cannot continue to provide, the federal government should not require states to provide government services. And I have consistently voted against that and believe that we are, unfortunately, my grandfather came to this country, I announced in Somerset County. He didn't come here because he was guaranteed a government benefit. He came here because he wanted freedom. And I think most people who come to this country, certainly all the people who come here legally, want it because they wanted the opportunities of this country. And that's what we should be offering. We should not be offering to people, particularly those who broke the law to come here or overstayed their visa, we should not be offering government benefits.
And so, Dr. Paul, to you on this one, the question comes up, though, once they're in the country illegally, you have compassion sometimes bumps up against enforcing the law and state budget crises. A 5-year-old child of an illegal immigrant walks into an emergency room. Does the child get care?
Well, first off, we shouldn't have the mandates. We bankrupted the hospitals and the schools in Texas and other states. We shouldn't give them easy citizenship. We should think about protecting our borders rather than the borders between Iraq and Afghanistan. That doesn't make any sense to me. But on coming in, you know, there was a time when government we didn't depend on government for everything. There was a time when the Catholic Church actually looked at them.
Should they get care? Should taxpayers have to pay for that care?
No, they should not be forced to, but we shouldn't be penalizing the Catholic Church because they're trying to fulfill a role, and some of the anti-immigrants want to come down hard on the Catholic Church, and that is wrong. If we believed in our free society, matter of fact, this whole immigration problem is related to the economy. People aren't coming over as much now because it's weak. When we had a healthy economy, some of our people did work and people flowed over here getting jobs. So there is an economic issue here as well. But no, if you have an understanding and you want to believe in freedom, freedom has solved these kind of problems before. You don't have to say, oh, you're not going to have care, there won't be any care, and everybody's going to starve to death and die on the streets without medical care. That's the implication of the question. That's just not true, and you shouldn't accept it.
Mr. Kaine, another issue that's come up in recent years as this debate has bubbled up is the whole question of birthright citizenship. If there are 2 illegal immigrants, 2 adults who came into this country illegally, and they have a child, should that child be considered a citizen of the United States?
I don't believe so, but let's look at solving the real problem, okay? Immigration is 4 problems, not 1. This is why we keep kicking the can down the road. Secure the borders. Get serious about securing the borders. Number 2, enforce the laws that are already there. Number 3, promote the path to citizenship like this lady did by cleaning up the bureaucracy. And here's how we deal with the illegals that are already here. Empower the states to do what the federal government hasn't done, won't do, and can't do. Then we won't be getting into the problem that was raised. We are a compassionate nation. Of course they're going to get care, but let's fix the problem.
Well, to empower the states, Mr. Kaine says, Governor Pawlenty, do you support then? Arizona has its version. Parts of an employee enforcement law have been upheld. The big SB 1070 make its way to the Supreme Court. Alabama just has a new bill. Would you want to be president of the United States in which each state can decide what it does, or would you make the point, look, this is a federal purview, period?
I'm a strong supporter of states' rights, but if the federal government won't do its job, in this case protecting and securing our border, then let the states do it, and they will. And when President Bush asked governors to volunteer their National Guard to go to the border to help reinforce through Operation Jumpstart our border, I was one of the few governors who did it. I sent Minnesota National Guard there to reinforce the border, and it works. And that's what we need to do. And by the way, this issue of birthright citizenship, again, brings up the importance of appointing conservative justices. That result is because the U.S. Supreme Court determined that that right exists, notwithstanding language in the Constitution. I'm the only one up here, I believe I'm the only one up here who's appointed solidly, reliably conservative appointees to the court.
I want to do one more on this issue. President Bush, Senator McCain spent a lot of time on this, Mr. Speaker. I want your view. There are an estimated maybe 20 million illegal immigrants in this country. People have different numbers. If you were going to round them all up, Congressman Tom Tancredo on this stage 4 years ago would have said, round them up and kick them out. They broke the law. They shouldn't be here. I don't know where the money would come from in this environment. So I want your sense. Is that what the states should be doing? The federal government should be spending money and resources on? Or like President Bush and like Senator McCain, at least in the McCain-Kennedy days, should we have some path to status for those who are willing to step up and admit where they are and come out of the shadows?
One of the reasons this country's in so much trouble is that we are determined among our political elites to draw up catastrophic alternatives. You either have to ship 20 people out of America or legalize all of them. That's nonsense. We're never going to pass a comprehensive bill. Obama proved that in the last 2 years. He couldn't get a comprehensive bill through with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, and he didn't even try because he knew he couldn't do it. You break this down. Herman Cain's essentially right. You break it down. First of all, you control the border. We can ask the National Guard to go to Iraq. We ask the National Guard to go to Kuwait. We ask the National Guard to go to Afghanistan. Somehow we would have done more for American security if we had had the National Guard on the border. But if you don't want to use the National Guard, just one last example. If you don't want to use the National Guard, take half of the current Department of Homeland Security bureaucracy in Washington, transplant it to Texas, Arizona, and New Mexico. You'll have more than enough people to control the border. But let me just say this, John. No serious citizen who's concerned about solving this problem should get trapped into a yes-no answer in which you're either for totally selling out protecting America or you're for totally kicking out 20 million people in a heartless way. There are humane, practical steps to solve this problem if we get the politicians and the news media to just deal with it honestly.
John DeStaso down on the floor has a question.
Thank you, John. Congressman Paul, this is for you, but John, if you don't mind, I'd also like to hear from Governor Romney and a couple of the other candidates because it relates to a specific New Hampshire issue with the national question. Here in New Hampshire, there is a popular bill that is being considered by our state legislature that would restrict the state's power to seize private land to build a power plant or a transmission facility. Should governments at any level be able to use eminent domain for major projects that will reduce America's dependence on foreign oil?
No, we shouldn't have that power given to the government where they can take private land and transfer it to a private industry. The eminent domain laws are going to vary in different states, but we have the national eminent domain laws. It was never meant to take it from some people, private owners, and then take it and give it to a corporation because it's going to help that local locality. And this goes back to the basic understanding of property rights. Property in a free society should be owned by the people, and it shouldn't be regulated to death by the governments, whether it's Washington, D.C. or local governments. Right now, we really don't own our land. We just pay rent on our land, and we listen to all these regulations. So I would say the courts should get out of the way, too. They should not have this right to take land from individuals to provide privileges for another group.
Governor Romney, you're a property owner in New Hampshire. You are a New Hampshire property owner, but you also are for reducing our dependence on foreign oil. There are a lot of people in the state who are concerned about this project, but they also want to have energy independence. How do you feel about that?
Well, I don't believe that land should be taken by the power of government to give to a private corporation. And so the right of eminent domain is a right which is used to foster a public purpose and public ownership for a road, highways, and so forth. And so my view is if land is going to be taken for purposes of a private enterprise, that's the wrong way to go. Now, the right answer for us to have energy independence is to start developing our own energy in this country. And we're not doing that. We have a huge find with natural gas. 100 years of new natural gas has been found. More drilling for oil, natural gas, clean coal. We have coal in great abundance, nuclear power ultimately, and all the renewables. But it's time for us to have a president who really cares about finally getting America on track for energy security.
And so let's stay on this issue because it is a very important issue. Josh McKelvin down on the floor.
Thanks very much, John. Timely issue. Question for Senator Santorum. The Senate tomorrow is going to be voting on possibly abolishing the ethanol tax effective July 1st, which ought to have a major impact on our friends in another early voting state in Iowa. They grow corn. This is a move that would basically remove tax credits worth $6 billion. Question to you is, do you support abolishing?
Yeah, I actually proposed that we can phase out the ethanol subsidy, which is the blender's credit, over a 5-year period of time. I also proposed, as part of helping them in that transition, one other thing, also phase out the tariff on ethanol coming into this country over that 5-year period of time. One of the issues for the ethanol industry is distribution networks. So I would take half of that credit every year, 4.5 cents, and use it to help expand distribution for E85 in other areas of the country. And that all would be shut down in 5 years. And I say that because I think the ethanol industry, I voted against ethanol subsidies my entire time in Congress. But I will tell you, the ethanol industry has matured greatly, and I think they are actually capable of surviving and doing quite well going forward under that plan.
All right, I want to get working one more break before we go. We got a lot more ground to cover. Believe it or not, our candidates, we're running out of time here. Into and out of every break, we're having a little experiment called This or That. Spicy from Governor Romney was the last one. Governor Pawlenty, to you. Coke or Pepsi?
Coke.
Coke it is. A good switch.